KurokoNoBasket is an amazing anime. Personally, one of my favorites when it comes to the sports genre, but being an anime makes the character attributes blow out of proportion. All characters that can be deemed important have certain skills, like in a video game, but the ones you can call the main characters have ultimates. Aomine Daiki's zone pushes his body to superhuman limits and combined with his eccentric playstyle makes him unstoppable on the field. Ryota Akisei's zone allows him to finally possess the stats needed to copy the skills of the generation of miracles and become a one-man army. You get the point by now. The ultimate known as zone buffs the character stats and their skills to the next level, making them unbeatable in their area of expertise. But what if a character in his base form can destroy one in the zone? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for AkashiSeijuro, the standard redhead in an anime with a broken skill set. Akashi has an ankle breaker, foresight, alongside passives such as perfect awareness, perfect pass, Emperor's Aura, and a lot of unknown. His opponent, Kagami Tiger, has Super Jump, Roar, and his ultimate, the Zone. Kagami uses his zone as soon as the match starts, and in this showdown he goes all out and he... AkashiSeijuro, with his base stats and skills, is able to defeat Kagami Tiger in the zone. This should be everything you need to know to predict the outcome of the match, but basketball is a 5 vs 5 game, and so we have to talk about the other teammates and see if there's a glimmer of hope there. Rakuzan has AkashiSeijuro as the ace. He's a master strategist who uses his Emperor's Eye to help his allies and absolutely decimate his opponents. He's also extremely good at basketball, which can be seen with his formless passes, alley-oops, and threes that he can perform whenever he wants to. Under his command is Leo, the shooter with 3 unique forms that can be interchanged at will, and he rarely misses his shots. Another striker by the name of Kotaro is present. His nickname is the Lightning Beast, and as the name suggests, he has lightning reflexes and an active skill of dribbling with 5 stacks capacity. There's also Miyazumi, who we don't know much about, and to top it all off, we have the Herculean strength Nebuya as the vanguard. Playing against them is Seirin, which has the ultimate combination of Kagami and Kuroko. Then there's Junpei Hyuga, who can shoot his 3s consistently after he gets one in. The Analyzer Iduki, who has Hawkeyes, which provides him a 360-degree field of view, making him a good point guard. And the Iron Heart Vanguard Teppei Kiyoshi, whose knees are in critical condition and overexerting can lead to permanent and severe repercussions. Accounting for both the teams, it is pretty easy to judge the superior one, but the match is not over till one side gives up. And so, let's begin. A basketball match has 4 rounds in it, each lasting 10 minutes, and your task is to shoot as many 3s and 2s as possible while not letting the opponent score. With Rakuzan being a far stronger team, Seirin goes all out. Kagami enters the zone, which allows him to use meteor jams until Akashi switches things up by using a man-to-man defense. Akashi takes on Kagami, Leo vs Hyuga, Kotaro vs Iduki, Nebuya vs Kiyoshi, and Miyazumi vs Kuroko. After 2 meteor jams, Zone Kagami comes face to face with the Emperor Eye Akashi, and the ultimate showdown of the aces, which will decide the flow of the entire game, ensues. Kagami outruns the Emperor Eye, uses Meteor Jam, but fails. It seems Akashi here had taken everything into account and laid a trap, forcing Kagami to use a lot of stamina and end up failing. The flow for the first round has been decided in the favor of Rakuzan. But there is a chance for comeback. Akashi takes the ball, Kagami initiates a face-off. This may be Seirin's last chance, but my dear Kagami falls victim to the good old ankle breaker. With odds really not being in Seirin's favor, Coach decides to sub in Kuroko. Now this is a dangerous move because Kuroko, while the best phantom around, has the lowest amount of stamina ever seen in a basketball player. So while he is a game changer, his use should be to a minimum. But there is another problem. Rakuzan, Seirin, and the audience are taking notice of Kuroko. The player famed to be a phantom ceases to exist should he start shining. Later it is revealed that this exposure is his own fault. Akashi tells him that there is a reason he wasn't allowed to learn how to dribble or shoot during the numerous variations they were trying with him. But him learning those things have made people take notice. This effectively crashes Kuroko's worldview, making it 4 vs 5. But what's worse is Miyazumi here, who is Phantom 2.0. Round 2 reveals us more of Rakuzan's strengths. Furihada, the sub for Kuroko, shows us that Akashi's aura takes a toll on the opposing players by consuming their staminas at rapid pace. Leo Mibuchi turns out to be a shooter with 3 forms, of which Void freezes his opponents in place. Kotaro uses Lightning Dribble max stack against Iduki, stupefying him in the process, and Nebuya uses his muscles, I guess. This slow reveal of their skills shows Seirin the disparity between them and pushes the team deeper into the abyss, prompting this statement.
Well, it was bound to happen eventually. Even against a team like Rakuzan, they're sure to snag themselves a few points. But still, that's about all. The little runs can try their best to make a last-ditch effort, but they'll be pushed out by a stronger power. They're done for.
Now that we know all of Rakuzan's strengths, round 3 marks the comeback for Seirin. First, Miyazumi is forced to shoot the baskets to attract the limelight and let Kuroko return to being a phantom. Then, Leo is stopped from making threes by Hyuga. Kotaro is driven into a corner by Iduki's Hawkeye, and him just double and triple teaming him at times. Kiyoshi decides to give his all, which makes him stronger than the Herculean strength Nebuya. All in all, Seirin's catching up and Rakuzan's players become more and more useless. But what about the Emperor? Well, they tried countering him in various ways, boxing him in, teaming up, and even making Kagami create a domain with his own. Because of course he does. But all of that proved to be useless against absolute power. So Kagami, in all his brilliance, just increased the size of his domain to cover most of the half-court. This domain allows him to traverse through the terrain instantly, and that stops Akashi flat in his tracks. All of this means Seirin's victory, right? I mean, they countered every player, especially two with sheer plot armor, and now they get to enjoy the fruits of victory. Well, not quite. The generation of miracles consists of prodigies whose skills are generally at the level that their bodies can't handle. This was the reason that in middle school they weren't allowed to exert their full power. But that all changed in high school, where their bodies started adapting. This allowed Murasakibara to enter the zone and Aomine to enter it at will. You see where I'm going with this? Because Akashi enters the zone. I don't need to use words to describe how broken Akashi becomes. His speed skyrockets, his domain covers the entire courtyard, his perception of reality comes to a standstill. and all of his previously used skills can be used indefinitely. This is when bullshit steps up a level because Seirin has to counter that. So, Kuroko unlocks a pseudo Emperor Eye. The reason is that he is so familiar with the way his teammates work. He can predict them and move in the opposite direction, which allows him to steal the ball.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
This would have been perfectly believable if Akashi wasn't in the zone. With his stats now, he could see Kuroko from a mile away and leave him in the dust. Here is the proof. 2 players jumping to stop Akashi. While he cancels his jump, sidesteps them, poops in, and poses for the camera while they're still in the air. But this encounter shatters Akashi and he experiences a mental breakdown, which I will explore in detail at a later time. Right now, all you need to know is that Akashi values victory. With Kagami and Kuroko, he realizes that he's about to face a complete defeat. And so, the old Akashi emerges. Yeah, split personality exists, and yes, that means he has access to 2 skill trees. This changes everything, because the old Akashi wasn't aggressive or controlling or cruel. He valued his teammates and aided them to absolute victory. Now his teammates are the uncrowned kings of this generation, and so you can imagine as to what transpires next. Beautiful passes make his teammates enter the state of perfection. Easiest threes, best dribbles, and so on. In other words, when Akashi enters the zone, his teammates enter it with him. This is when 2 things decide to happen. Kagami's limitless use of the zone has decided to take a toll on him. And also everyone is exhausted and on the verge of giving up until unknown best friend used Roar. It was very effective. All of this leads to the time I don't want to talk about at all, but here we go. Kagami re-enters the zone. Everyone gets a golden aura. Perfect synchronization ensues across the team, and Hyuga, in the span of 1 match, is able to imitate Leo's void form.
I haven't practiced it, but I've seen it done more than enough times.
Shooting a 3 and getting a free throw. Kagami gets a 3 in, they somehow snatch the ball from Rakuzan again. Kuroko fakes a shot, he was just passing to Kagami, so he can alley-oop, and the game ends in Seirin's victory. Author, can you suck any more Seirin dick?
A few moments later.
The problem is that Seirin can't win due to the natural gap in terms of everything, but needs to win because of the narrative. The difference of power has been explained already, but now comes the narrative side of it. Kuroko, our protagonist, believes that basketball is a sport that is meant to be enjoyed. You're supposed to love what you do on the field and improve alongside your team. But the team he was on was called the Generation of Miracles. Each and every individual was strong enough to solo the entire match and still win by a huge margin. And the captain of these monsters was the Emperor Eye, Akashi. He is of the belief that victory is all that matters. The end justifies the means, so he views the entirety of basketball as shogi, where he is the player and his teammates are the pawns. These 2 ideologies are on the opposing ends, and so it makes sense that we choose one side and see it trample over the other. Throughout the entire show, we see that teamwork is what has made Seirin victorious and encouraged others to do the same. But what if, near the end of the match, both the teams are of the same ideology? This is a question posed by the change in AkashiSeijuro. He understood that the personality he created was a combination of trying to uphold his father's ideals and cope with the loss of his mother. The only way to do that was achieve victory, and when Murasakibara threatened this state of mind, he gave in to his dark side. Akashi's switch to enter the zone is to find the situation hopeless, his teammates useless, forcing him to go all out. But this defeat by the hands of Kagami and Kuroko forced him to reevaluate his decisions, his morals, and his identity as a whole. And what emerged was the old AkashiSeijuro. Yes, his stats that seemed to overpower Kagami have disappeared, and yes, that idiotic domain disappeared. But what he gained was a new sense of clarity, which made his entire team enter the zone alongside. This new sense of teamwork replicates Kuroko's approach to basketball, and the show approached its biggest standstill yet. Who should win, Kuroko and Kagami, or the newly reformed Rakuzan in the zone? The answer to me was obvious, but that would be disastrous because Kuroko can't have another season. In case you weren't paying attention, he stopped being a phantom, and Kagami is strong enough to induce the same fear with his opponents as Aomine once did. And should this go on, the same cracks may appear. There are two solutions to this problem. First being the dehumanization of Akashi. Yes, what he has become is of no fault to him, but now it's too late. Now he can't remember what warmth felt like. His mother's face, his love for basketball, has all been corrupted by the thirst for victory for too long. And so he had no choice but to embrace this AkashiSeijuro, keeping the difference in ideology of the two and letting Kuroko gain a much-needed victory to prove Akashi wrong for once and for all. The other route is for the old Akashi to win, to not introduce the bullshit concept of the second zone and let the Emperor win. This may leave a bad aftertaste for the audience, but maybe celebrating Kuroko's birthday will reduce that just a bit. The end where Rakuzan is victorious will prove that Kuroko was right, and a new rivalry will be created for the next year's tournament, though that will never take place because of the aforementioned problems, and we will be left with a bittersweet ending. Personally, I would prefer the second option, as it would show that a combination of natural talent and the right ideology would lead to victory. And I would finally be able to add a truly strong human character who changed his ways and was rewarded for it. In the end, it's a problem created by the author. He made a character in a league of his own, and to cope with the problem, another element was forcefully introduced. The second zone is a bad concept, as it supports the notion of teamwork to an unrealistic degree, even for an anime. But unfortunately, it is the only way to rival the monsters known as the Generation of Miracles. The ending wasn't bad, and the movie did have me excited, but I honestly felt that Kuroko's victory undermined Akashi's struggle, and sought to resolve it in the form of this video. Now then, the time has come for me to return to the ashes and upload in the next millennia.